I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
The wrestling life.
Hey everybody, it's The Wrestling Life. It's episode 406. It's our WrestleMania 41 preview show. And I guess technically next week is our 11th anniversary, the post-Mania show. But
damn it, how long have we been doing this show?
I'm Ethan.
And I'm Liam.
We have so much to talk about this week.
And as always, so many things we cannot talk about on the first and only wrestling podcast. Happy WrestleMania week, Crab fans.
So much to get into. WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas this weekend. And all that goes with it, all the ancillary things that go along with WrestleMania week. Every company, except AEW this year, is running in Vegas for WrestleMania week. So we're going to preview the Mania card as it stands here during the week. We'll quickly discuss what else is going on this weekend, and then maybe get into a little bit of Dynamite and maybe a little bit of President of the United States. We'll see. Hang on. Is that buzzing because of my phone, or do you have your phone near you, or
I wouldn't say my phone's like super close to me.
it might be me? I've moved my phone. We'll see what happens.
I don't hear buzzing on my end, which I don't know if that's a good sign or not.
All right. Well, it's gone now one way or the other. So I think my cord might not have been plugged in. Anyway. Professional. All right. So night one of WrestleMania, we have the main event. Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins in a triple threat. CM Punk has Paul Heyman in his. Roman Reigns will not have his wise men in his corner. Seth Rollins will claims Paul Heyman now owes him a favor. This feels like maybe a SummerSlam main event, and it's main eventing WrestleMania Night 1. You've always made the distinction between Night 1 and Night 2 of Mania and the main event.
Yeah, I think I discussed with our buddy Mike on Twitter. I think there's a couple night ones you can argue have been the real main events over the years.
Yeah.
Owens and Austin. I think Bianca and Sasha outranks that random triple threat that Roman had the next night, but few and far between that these night one main events actually feel like main events. So, listen, it being a three-way already kind of we've touched on this. It being a three-way immediately waters it down from what would have been more interesting, which is they could have held off the Punk Seth match and not done it on like the first Raw of the year and had Punk win clean, and then done them in a grudge match here, or you could have just pulled the trigger on Punk and Roman in a grudge match, or Seth and Roman in a grudge match, and Punk could have wrestled Gunther for the world title or something. You could have done a lot of things, any number of 1,000 things, but you did this. And like as three guys that all hate each other. I mean, I think they've all done as good a job as you can cutting promos about how they all hate each other, given the circumstances. The things I don't like are one that it's now become a, whose side is Paul Heyman on story, because I'd like to see the three badass dudes, kick each other's ass and one guy prove himself superior to the other two, not who the fat old man is going to manage after the show. I don't really care about that. So, I don't really like that. And then Seth's cutting this promo on Monday about how it's the future, the soul of WWE is on the line, and whoever wins controls the future. And I'm like, there's no belt on the line here. There aren't shares in the company on the line, as far as I know. I don't quite understand the stakes they were trying to add. Like, what happens? What goals do each of these men have, and how are those goals thrashed if they lose this three-way match.
Yeah, as you laid out, the guys have tried to kind of add some stakes to this match with no stakes to varying degrees of success. So I don't know. Match should be fun. I hope we get something besides just everybody hitting go to sleeps and curb stomps and spears and Superman punches. I hope we don't get the Paul Heyman layout, but I mean, I think history tells us we're getting the Paul Heyman layout, right?
Well, yeah, or it's the classic Roman Reigns layout, and it's 25 minutes of talking and squeezing, and then a bunch of finishers.
I was talking with some guys this week about how WWE books, which was kind of in the zeitgeist this week because Triple H did a state-run media interview where he criticized everything from fans to quote unquote dirt sheets to talent to I'm not sure. It was a very weird and defensive interview for a guy who's supposedly, the chief content officer for a company that's on fire right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as I was discussing with these guys, it's like it feels like in a lot of his booking, he has okay, we have point A, and then we have point B, which is point A is the angle that kicks off whatever, and then we have point B, which is the pay-per-view match, and then we really don't do anything between point A and point B. We just fill a lot of time on our television shows, and I mean this relates to the night two main event of Cody and Cena. It's like we had the big point A, which is the big Cena heel turn, and then we had point B, which is this match at WrestleMania this weekend. And then in between, it's like they didn't think about one single thing at all. And there may be special circumstances there with Dwayne being involved in the Cody and Cena stuff, but Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Okay, we have point A, Charlotte wins the Royal Rumble. We have point B, Tiffany Stratton defends against Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. And we just had a bunch of weird stuff in between. It didn't really go in. I don't know. It's just we may as well discuss it here. Just a lot of really weird media appearances from WWE people this week. Triple H in an interview with Peter Rosenberg, as we mentioned, criticized everyone. Roman Reigns talked to Variety and mentioned that he voted for Donald Trump this year, and you are convinced that Donald Trump was showing up one of the nights of WrestleMania. It's quite possible. I don't know. And just a lot of weird interviews this week. What was the PR start? Nick Khan on Bill Simmons' podcast making fun of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
What's the strategy here?
That's a really good question. Like, I mean, I was not surprised to hear the shots at AEW, which I mean, and shots, I'm not complaining that in any way they take shots. Again, I'm a big fan of wrestling companies sniping at each other. So I was fine with
When
it.
it's in good fun.
Yeah. Well, like
That was
Uncle,
good in good fun.
yeah, Uncle Nick's doing it. Like you remember last year, like Triple H started poo-pooing Osprey a bunch WrestleMania week. Like they're trying to drum up buzz. And I think we're hoping, like maybe they were hoping like last year where they had Osprey the following week on Dynamite go out and cut a promo on Triple H. They were hoping, and they also aired the Punk footage around this time last year. I think they were hoping maybe get a rise out of old Tony Twitterfingers, but so yeah, that just seems like something they like to do when they have a big week, is to just start taking shots because they know that generates buzz and galvanizes the very tribal fan bases that exist for these companies. So that didn't necessarily surprise me. The thing where Triple H is constantly complaining about he's doing a classic talk out of both sides of your mouth, where he talks about how he doesn't pay attention to the internet and Twitter's not real life and those fans don't represent the large majority of our fans, but yet somehow he is aware of he's hyper aware of every specific criticism of his booking over the last 6 months, and like goes
Yes.
and takes shots at it like point by point. Um, so yeah, and so he yelled at the fans, told them to stop being so critical and just mindlessly consume the product and enjoy it. And whatever he gives you is best. Um,
As Bubba Ray once, he said the actual Bubba Ray line, be a fan.
that's right. And it's also one of those things that also portrays how little anyone in that WWE bubble is aware of the outside world, because you'll hear them say like, people that watch movies don't do this, or people that love sports don't do this. It's like, have you looked at Twitter during a sporting event of any kind? Have you looked under the comments of a trailer of the new Marvel movie that's coming out, soon or whatever? Like, people do this in every in any arena where there is fandom of pop culture, music, sports, television, movies. This exists. It just, yeah, the people that do it in wrestling, are they 10% weirder than the people that do it about movies and TV? Yeah, probably. But like, it's just one of those things that I think further exposes just how in a bubble everyone in a position of authority in a wrestling company is, when you hear quotes like that where you're like, dude, this exists everywhere. And yeah, it's just like Roger Goodell doesn't take an hour out of his week on the week of the Super Bowl to complain about people saying mean things about how he runs the league. Like, that's the difference here. So I don't know. It's weird to be in the midst of, the third straight year of like a massive successful Wrestlemania, and big gangbuster numbers, and their big crowds for 2 nights of Mania, and a sold out NXT show, and a sold out Raw the night after, and all this stuff. And it's just like, and you're still so mad because people are pointing out that your booking's not great on Twitter. And it's just like, I don't know. I think when I see that, and I see that way, Paul, and it chips away at the kind uncle character that he tried to cultivate for himself over the last 10 years, I go, hey, there he is. There's the guy I know. He has great contempt for you and me and all of us.
Yeah, he also praised Donald Trump's heel work in another interview this week. He was like, you know what? He's just a great worker, that Donald Trump. Whatever you think of him, he prefaces, he's just a great entertainer and a great heel. It's like, leader of the free world.
Leader of the free world.
Yeah, and the tribal chief mentioned that he voted for Trump in his variety interview somehow. How does that come up? And
like, it doesn't come
how
up unless he volunteers it, right?
I wouldn't think. And also, what happened to no comment?
Yeah, WWE is apolitical, as the Undertaker famously told us right before they went to Saudi Arabia.
Right. It's very very odd, but Trump got an Uafala in the Oval Office this week, so we presume he's showing up maybe Saturday night with an Uafala on before Roman Reigns match. Which at this point, sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a little bit last week. There seems to be a concerted effort to move, or to offer WWE up to a certain type of fan that maybe already follows UFC, and maybe they're looking for some synergy of like the dude bro right wing guys who like Tony Hinchcliffe and those type of right wing podcasters and comedians, and hey, Trump's at UFC every other week, it feels like. So
Yeah.
why not have him sit ringside at WrestleMania too?
Back to WrestleMania Night 1. Tiffany Stratton defending the women's championship against Charlotte Flair. They did 2 angles on SmackDown last week to try to heat this thing up, and I think to varying degrees of success. Any thoughts on the Tiffany Charlotte, kind of the way that, I guess we haven't seen the final SmackDown before Mania yet, but They did two angles where Charlotte laid out Tiffany on SmackDown last week. One before SmackDown in the parking lot, and then one during SmackDown. I don't know. Charlotte's got to get her heat back, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like maybe we've decided there's not going to be any more talking between these two because one or both of them can't be trusted. So, yeah, I guess that's what we got left. We'll see. Charlotte can have really good matches, and she's not afraid to go over her time, as we all well know. So, if she's got her working boots on and she wants to try to make this a great match, she will likely have the opportunity to do so. So probably depends on if she's winning, I would think, but we'll see.
LA Knight defending the United States Championship against Jacob Fatu. LA Knight has been slotted, and Jacob Fatu is certainly on the ascent and has surpassed Solo Sikoa, who may or may not be getting a match at WrestleMania on night two. We'll see. But do we see a title change here?
I would, because I don't know why you put this match on the pay-per-view and not the SmackDown before, if you weren't doing a title change here and trying to make Jacob a big featured part of giving him a moment because he's going to be a big featured part of your show for the next year or more.
Jade Cargill versus Naomi on night one. Should be a Jade win. There's a lot of obvious babyface wins, I think, up and down a lot of these shows. But if you want to mix in a couple, then I think Naomi could beat Jade and keep this program going using underhanded tactics or grabbing the tights or whatever, and then we're off and running. But maybe Jade gets her revenge from being hit by a car or slammed on the hood of a car 5 months ago.
Yeah, this feels like this is right for like a classic nobody gets over special. Like Naomi wins by heelish tactics, and then Jade makes her own comeback and lays her out after the match.
Right. Yeah, that sounds about right. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, who may or may not be offensive to large portions of the Hispanic community. Um, Look, I'm not Hispanic, so I can't say don't get offended by it. But I will say, to me, this is not a Mexican joke. It's a Starbucks joke.
Hmm.
And I don't understand why people are upset. But what do I know? Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano.
Yeah, I mean, look, in the end, see, this is a lesson hopefully Triple H has learned since WrestleMania 19. If the vaguely racist heel gets his comeuppance and loses at the end of the story, uh, it's probably more palatable than if El Grande Americano wins this match, it will probably sour things a little bit more. But if Ray beats him and unmasks him as Chad Gable, and Gable does a pratfall and is all embarrassed at the end of the match, then I think most people will find this more palatable.
The War Raiders, couple of Killer Kowalski guys from New England, defending the tag team championship against the New Day, the Kofi Kingston Xavier Woods duo. Um, I, f- it would be really nice if an African American man could win a match in WWE sometime. And so I think maybe the New Day should win and get the tag team titles here. What do you think?
I mean, it's either that or Big E comes out and costs them the match. But again, I wouldn't think you would do that
Oh.
unless you're setting up a Big E in ring return, which we also thought they were so obviously telegraphing back when Kofi and Woods turned heel, and that was obviously not the case. So I don't know. I guess you could do that without him having to get physical if that's still a concern of theirs.
And then presumably kicking off night one, Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Does Uncle Paul go all the way here? And by Uncle Paul, I mean Triple H, not our actual Uncle Paul, who bears a striking resemblance to Frankie Kazarian. I'm just saying, Gunther versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. Does Uncle Paul pull the trigger and put the title on the Yeet Man? What do you think?
Yeah, why not? There's no reason not to. Gunther's been champion for a long time. There's no other obvious challengers. I mean, I guess Seth or Punk or whoever wins the three-way could challenge him after the show, but yeah, go all the way. If you had him win the Rumble, just have him win the title. He can lose it in a month, like every babyface champion who wins a title, with the exception of Cody. Like this is like how NXT used to book the babyface champion. You build up to the big coronation, they get it, and then a month later they lose it to the next heel. So that feels like this is what this Jey Uso run is ripe for.
Totally fine. Night 2. Io Sky defending the women's world title against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. I would bet heavily on Rhea Ripley, but what do I know?
Seems like a safe bet. They didn't they didn't turn Rhea heel. But that promo she cut on Monday felt like maybe they've decided that that's the direction they have to go based on the story they told that they didn't realize was making Rhea a heel, but we'll see.
The tag titles with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending against the slapdash duo of Bailey and Lyra Valkyria, who is the women's intercontinental champion. Um, I mean, Bailey and Lyra, they're not going anywhere separately, so sure, let's go ahead and put them together as a team. They could lose and continue feuding with each other for the Intercontinental Championship, or they could win and become the tag team champions, and Liv and Raquel could move up the card. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of logistically, it probably depends on who the singles champions are coming out of this show because Liv kind of wrestled everybody on Raw, but maybe if Tiffy keeps the belt and she's a babyface on SmackDown, maybe you move Liv and Raquel over there to give her some fresh people to work with. Um, yeah, so that might the winners of the singles women's titles might alert us to this, but yeah, I don't know if it's so thrown together as a oh, I guess we want to have these girls on the show for Bailey and Lyra. Um, yeah, remember when they were building like a Bailey Roxanne thing and then Roxanne's on the NXT show for some reason?
You fell off the face of the earth. Yeah.
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 She
And
should,
then was back on the face of the earth in NXT.
yeah. She did show up, I think, on SmackDown this week to get in a crack about how Charlotte was unprofessional. That felt targeted. But
And,
yeah.
and did a job.
Yeah.
Did a job for Tiffy. Yep. All right. AJ Styles versus Logan Paul. I'm looking at Logan Paul's cage match profile here. It's just the man has had 18 professional wrestling matches. Um, let's see. He lost in the Elimination Chamber. He beat Rey Mysterio to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. He lost in the Royal Rumble. He lost to LA Knight at SummerSlam. He lost to Money in the Bank qualifier on SmackDown last year. He lost to the Cody Rhodes last year. He did win at WrestleMania last year. I don't know. It feels like he loses more than he wins, and maybe Logan Paul needs a win to kind of keep some steam on him if he's going to be a big celebrity wrestler. And we'll see what AJ Styles has left. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, and I think it also is maybe we don't know when if AJ's resigned yet. So I would assume he is, but that's maybe another factor to think about. So yeah, I think Logan can win here. AJ is whatever he is, 46 years old now. He can lose to Logan Paul and it won't really hurt him. Whatever he is going to be on the show, he can be at that level. He's kind of settled into like a Christian type role where it's like he can be a mid card guy for most of the time, and then if you need to call him up to the main event, you don't really have to do a lot to get the fans to accept him at that level. So that's a
Sure.
fine. He'll be fine if he loses to Logan here.
AJ will be 48 in June, by the way.
48. Jeez.
Yep. Four-way for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker defends against Penta, Finn Balor, and Dominic Mysterio. I think Finn and Dom are breaking up, and so why shouldn't Penta pin one of them for the Intercontinental Championship here while Braun Breaker moves his way up? What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. It does I think it does everything you need to do. You're gonna furthers the Judgment Day thing because whoever gets pinned can be resentful of the other Judgment Day guy, and then it lets you get the belt off of Braun without pinning him. So great, do that.
Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre in a street fight. I think they added the street fight stipulation just to kind of add a little juice to this. If we have babyface champions coming out of Mania, then Drew winning makes sense. If we have heel champions coming out of Mania, then I could see Priest winning. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like Drew versus Jay is a match they did 3,000 times on Raw in the last 2 years, but it would be a little bit fresher, I guess, if Jay's the champion now. So yeah, that would seem to make sense to me. I don't Yeah, I guess Priest could go challenge, if Cena needs like a one-off opponent here or there to defend the belt against on a pay-per-view that, the classic nobody thinks he's gonna win contender. I could see him getting into that role for a month and then being knocked back down the card afterwards. That's a fine use for him. So yeah, I guess will again the singles champion results will probably inform their decisions on some of these undercards.
Randy Orton is probably wrestling somebody on this show. It might be Nick Aldis. You would think that from the television, although they kind of introduced the possibility that it could be Solo Sikoa on last week's SmackDown. Aldis would be fun just to see two pros in Aldis and Orton lock horns for the first time. Don't know what it does to the Aldis character if he wrestles. Like I don't think character wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but Solo Skull would make a lot more sense, and since he's going absolutely nowhere. But do you have a feeling on which way this Randy Orton thing goes?
Yeah, I mean the Aldous thing, like you would think because he's a or at the very least he's like a neutral character if he's not a baby face on TV.
Right.
Like you would if you were gonna have him wrestle, it would be like the heel goading him into a match, like where he's been insulted as a man and he's got to stand up for himself, not the Randy Orton super baby face keeps RKOing me and I'm mad about it.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't feel like the right time necessarily, or like it would make a lot of sense logistically for him to wrestle Orton, other than it would just be a weird fun match to do. But yeah, I guess I mean look, it would get Solo on the show. You could do something, to further that version of the bloodline breaking up or whatever. You can do something with that and go 6 minutes and Orton hits the RKO and poses. That's what we all want after all.
Yes. And then the main event, Cody Rhodes and John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cena going for the kayfabe record of 17 world titles. Cody Rhodes trying to keep his kingdom. I don't know. The Rock and Travis Scott very likely to show up here for the first time in months.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll get the next chapter in this. Maybe we get a big Steve Austin, Dwayne Johnson face off at some point here in a spot in the match. I don't know. But I expect ref bumps, I expect run-ins, and I expect I don't know what to expect in terms of the result. I think Cody keeps it, but what do you think?
I mean, I would, just because I don't feel like Cena needs the belt. I know that's part of about like 4 weeks into the heel turn, they decided that he's doing Summer of Punk and that he's going to take the belt into retirement with him.
Right.
But that doesn't really feel like something people would honestly care about, because 100 wrestlers have retired as champion before. So, and also it's WWE, a company where the belts have never meant less. So, but I like so you could do that, and then you have Cody and Punk and whoever else trying to chase him down to win the belt back before he retires. I guess you have sort of a ticking clock thing where he can beat a bunch of baby faces all summer and then put somebody over on his way out in December or whatever. But um yeah, I don't know. I feel like but the other part is like they don't do a good job of building up. They've never really done Cody and Drew as a program, but they don't doesn't really feel like if Cody's champion for like another year or even another 6 months, I'm like, who do they even have ready? like
Yeah.
for Cody to wrestle after the show, where it feels like on the other side you can heat up a bunch of, for lack of a better term, tomato can baby faces for for Cena to run through if he's the champ. So maybe I lean Cena just for that reason.
Well, we are in for allegedly 4 hour shows Saturday night and Sunday night, 3 hour pre shows, 2 hour post shows. Sounds absolutely brutal. But that's what's going on there. Stand and deliver the day before. Obafemi, Trick Williams, and Javon Evans in a triple threat for the NXT Championship. D'Angelo family against Dark State in a 6-man tag. Ricky Saints versus Ethan Page in the AEW Rampage special for the NXT North American Championship. Nathan Frazier and Axiom against Hank Walker and Tank Ledger for the NXT Tag Team titles. Stephanie Vaquer defends in a 4-way against Julia Jordan Grace and Jada Parker. Zarya, Connie Jordan, Sol Ruka, Izzy Dame, Lola Vice, and Thea Hale in a ladder match for the vacant Women's North American Championship. And on the pre-show, the winners get a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship shot on next Tuesday's WWE NXT against whoever the champions are. And competing will be Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson, Fallon Henley and JC Jane, Tana Paxley and Gigi Dolan, and the thrown together team of Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. So I've just said a lot of NXT names in a very short period of time, but that show kicks off. The pre-show is at noon on noon Eastern time on Saturday, and there's one match on the pre-show, so that's what's going on with that. What are you checking out as far as the indie shows this weekend?
Well, I gotta say, I am interested in what is apparently being billed as Sabu's final match against Joey Janela on the Spring Break show this weekend. Just because the curiosity of what Sabu can even do at this point is kind of a lot for me.
Yeah.
He's
Remember
remember when he was in AEW?
Janela's coming. Sorry, we have some lag here. Go ahead.
Sorry. Remember when he was in AEW and he took like one bump through a table and then nobody ever saw him again?
Yes. Yes, I do. Sabu and Joey Janela, who's like wrestling 2 months before a doctor would clear him to wrestle. Could be an all timer.
Yeah. So well, that one sticks out to me. Bloodsport show is covered in WWE talent, as are a lot of these CW shows this weekend, with the WWE ID stuff all over the stuff. So, hey, if you don't get enough WWE between NXT and SmackDown and the Hall of Fame, which is airing at 1 a.m., and the 2 nights of WrestleMania and Raw on Monday, you can also catch plenty of WWE branded content all over the indie shows of the weekend. Isn't that exciting?
Isn't that something? And New Japan, a very bad week in New Japan. Hiroshi Tanahashi lost his last match in the United States, and their biggest remaining star, Tetsuya Naito, and the company could not agree to terms on a new contract. Naito is leaving. Bushi, his LIJ comrade, is also leaving out of loyalty to Naito, it would appear, because I think he had agreed already to a new deal. But New Japan couldn't pony up the cash that Naito wanted. This feels very weird, though. Naito, I don't see a lot of other companies that are going to pay Naito a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. maybe I'm wrong, but Tetsuya Naito, the most over guy in NJPW, leaving the promotion feels like a pretty big deal.
Yeah, like that was the thing. Like as much as we've for probably 3, 4 years on this show talked about Naito being so far over the hill, it wasn't even funny. Uh, the crowds never left him. Like they were molten for him when he went for the world title against Sonata that last time. Like they were so into the idea. Just getting to see him win the belt and finally do the roll call at the Tokyo Dome was like enough to draw up bigger than the previous year's crowd. Like he had a connection with Japanese fans that very few people have ever had in that country, and very few wrestlers. So yeah, if he goes, it doesn't seem like a guy who's going to come wrestle in America full time. Um, so it's like, well, okay, but you would think if he was going like the Ibushi freelancer route, or if he was going to Noah or one of those places, it's like, well, all those places still kind of cross over with New Japan. So would they still do such like a public breakup with him if he was still going to be around every couple of months? I don't know, but it's yeah, whether or not he's starting his own promotion or joining one of the other smaller groups there that maybe has an easier schedule. I don't know, but that does feel like a very seismic blow coming, just a year after they have already lost everyone else, and a little less than a year prior to Tanahashi retiring. It's like, yeah, that whole era of New Japan is gone basically now. If Naito is in fact, gone for the foreseeable future, and Tanahashi hangs it up.
They did a poor job building for the future. They had
It's
all those top guys just wrestle each other over and over.
true. It's yeah. There's very little sympathy to be felt. I will say they have building blocks now that they should have had like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Like Yoda Suji is like the one of the three Japanese musketeer guys that is actually over and is actually getting better. Gabe Kidd, I think because of the Omega match, is seen in a different light internationally now, as well as maybe locally in Japan. Big fan of Bolton Oleg as well. Or is it Oleg Bolton? So like there's guys under 40 there that are really good. Takeshita he's signed there, but also to AEW. He's not going to be in there full time, but he's going to be around more. So it's like there's young guys under 40 that you can build around, but there's going to be some growing pains. And it might mean running less shows and smaller buildings for a while, which I don't know if they're prepared to do. So we'll see.
Yeah. Jeff Cobb also on the way out. They knew they knew they knew he was talking to WWE.
Mm-hmm.
There've been talk since the Tokyo Dome that Jeff Cobb's on his way to WWE. They put the tag team titles on him, and now he's leaving. Like what? and The Rock wore a New Japan shirt in our Instagram post, and everyone thinks there's a secret plan because of that.
Yeah. Who knows? I mean, yeah. As far as the Cobb thing, it's like, yeah, it sounds like they had like some sort of like verbal assurance of when he would actually be starting with WWE, and then that timetable shifted as it does. And hey, man, if he doesn't have any legal reason to stay, why would he stay? So, that's not really something where you can feel sorry for the company. It's interesting just because they could have, like, Jeff Cobb's a guy who you feel like if a major promotion had wanted him anytime in the last decade, they could have had him, and nobody signed him full time in America for whatever reason. Maybe he was just nobody would be pay him what he was making in New Japan when the money there was good. But yeah, interesting to see what like a 40-year-old Jeff Cobb's gonna do in WWE. But he could still go. So we shall see.
I think Cobb and Naito are both 42. Definitely the buzz early in the week when the Naito news broke was, well, he must be coming to America. Naito hates American wrestling.
Yeah. Everyone remembered simultaneously.
Yeah. Naito hates American wrestling and he's absolutely physically washed. Um, I don't know. I don't see Naito coming over. Just Cobb, it seems like is coming over. Speaking of AEW Dynamite they became the longest running primetime pro wrestling show in the history of Turner Sports this week, surpassing WCW Monday Nitro with more episodes. And uh, this week's AEW Dynamite almost universally praised. What did you think of the show?
Yeah, I thought it was one of their best, maybe one of their best shows ever. It was high on wrestling and low on angles. Imagine that.
Good.
Imagine that. Yeah. Speaking of WC Nitro, I just always think of the survey they ran in 2000 where WCW fans said they wanted more wrestling on the shows, and they promptly ignored that and booked an entire hour of a show with no wrestling that did a terrible rating. Um, anyway, maybe there's lessons to be learned. Maybe wrestling fans want to watch wrestling, especially if they're watching a show that is not a WWE show. So it was great. Mercedes and Athena had a really, really good match. Feels like they just kind of scratched the surface, though. Takeshita and Osprey had an unbelievable match. It's the cutting edge of that style of wrestling, and then you did really one of my favorites. Speaking of like a WCW hallmark, big babyface title change at the end of the show, and then the whole babyface locker room comes out to celebrate, which is a favorite of mine. So this show gets high marks from me just for the champagne celebration with all the baby faces at the end of the show.
It also had the debut of Josh Alexander on that show. Um, they debuted him with a loss as a wild card in the Owen Hart tournament. He lost to Hangman Page, who is now going on to wrestle Kyle Fletcher. Um, I, I don't know. Like you got this new guy, you're celebrating signing him, and then you beat him first night in. Like it goes counter to everything that I would do, but
Yeah,
it
it's
doesn't
pretty
matter.
WWE. Like it's pretty like they would bring somebody up from NXT and have them take the world champion or Cena or somebody to the limit and then lose. So there's definitely a little bit of that energy to it. They did immediately have Alexander turn heel and join the Don Callis family. Obviously, you need to put the focus back where it belongs on Don Callis. Um, but
The main character.
correct. So he'll be another one of that menagerie along with Takeshita and Kyle. So look, that's maybe a better role since I mean you just brought Speedball in as a new baby face, so you bring in him and make him a heel. But to your point, you could have brought him in, made him a heel, and not beaten him in his first night in. So there's that.
He's slotted already, and he's slotted as like the number 3 guy in that faction. I don't know. All right, enjoy the wrestling this weekend, everybody, and enjoy WrestleMania. Just enjoy. Anything else you want to discuss?
No, I think that about wraps it up.
All right, we'll be back next week to discuss the aftermath of WrestleMania 41. Till then, I'm Ethan,
And I'm Liam.
we'll be back soon with more stories from the wrestling life.
Adios.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Now, here are this week's bonus features.
Just saw a tweet, wise man, why are my eggs $45?
Boy.
Wise man.
Big week for dumb guys who think they're smart guys in the media. I mean, it's always a big week for that in this country, but specifically within the wrestling space.
I try to keep on keeping on.